The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Desde Brooklyn hasta el sol del Medio Oriente, José Flores con fuego en la mente. Raised in the Bronx where dreams don't sleep, donde el hambre te enseña a resistir. Section 8 life, no handouts, no cheat. He built his power from the pain on the street.
Cada golpe, cada lágrima caída fue el fuego que encendió su vida. Ahora camina con propósito y voz. José Flores, hear the noise. De la calle al combate, turn his trials into faith. Disciplina y con fe. Now he rises every day. From the block to the world sin temor.
You ever need a haircut?
So
that these kids can learn how to play instruments or want to, not just learn, but want to. But I think that there's a major shift.
Iraq to Korea, he led from the front. Now he lifts others, never just stunts. Hoy es mentor, líder, amigo.
¿Qué pasa, mi gente? Hey, welcome to the Motivated Mindset. I am your host, Jose Flores, and I am uber excited to be here. If you don't know, you better ask somebody out in here. How you doing? All right, mi gente. Look, I'm a proud Latino born in New York City. You know what I'm saying? Straight out of the Bronx, raised in Brooklyn. How you doing? That New York flavor, that hustle, that grit. It shaped me, built me, and still drives todo lo que yo hago. I'm a combat veteran who served 30 years in the United States Army. Hoorah! And before we get started, right here, we're gonna get rolling. I want to send a powerful salute to all my veterans and my service members and first responders, because listening, mucho respeto. You already know. Before we get any further, I need to speak on something real. The month of May is it's so powerful on so many levels. Mental Health Awareness Month, as you know. And para me, this isn't just a topic, it's a personal. As a veteran living with PTSD, mental wellness, it isn't optional, it's essential. But I'll keep it real with you. It wasn't always that way. Before I was diagnosed, before I got the help I needed, I was out there self-medicating, making, not good choices and masking pain instead of facing it. And here's why. This conversation we're going to have today matters because every year, thousands of veterans struggle with mental health challenges like PTSD, depression, and anxiety. And for a long time, there's been a number. You probably heard it, 22 veterans a day that are losing life to suicide. Now, let me be clear. That number came from an older data. And while updated studies suggest the daily average is closer to 17, one thing has not changed. Even one is too many. This is about our brothers and sisters, our battle buddies, people who serve, who sacrifice, and came home still peleando, fighting the battles aquí en la mente, que nadie ve, that nobody sees. But May is also a time to honor and recognize others who have contributed so much to this nation. It's Asian American and Pacific Islanders Heritage Month, where we celebrate the rich history, culture, and achievements of the AAPI communities who continue to shape este país, this country, in powerful ways. And it's also National Military Appreciation Month. Yay, how you doing? It's a time dedicated to honoring our service members, our veterans, and más importante, their families for their sacrifice, resilience, and unwavering commitment to this nation. So when we talk today, we understand that this conversation is about servicio, service, humanity, and about taking care of one another. Now, in this new chapter of my life, I wear a few different hats. I like this cool one right here. How you doing? Thank you very much. I'm a certified personal trainer, a certified mediator, and yes, an end-of-life deaf doula. But here's the truth. Esta es la verdad. Behind all those titles, I do what I do because I'm called to serve. I say, really, because I know what struggle feels like, because I know what it means to fight for purpose and to help others find theirs todos los días, every single day. My mission is simple: to inspire, to uplift, to challenge, to remind you that no matter a donde tú empezaste la vida, where you started, you can always redefine your life with heart, discipline, faith, and relentless drive. That's why this podcast exists. The Motivated Mindset is where we talk about resilience, culture, optimism, and what it takes to keep pushing when life tries to push you down. We keep it real here in New York, right here. It's always real. Bronx humor, zero sugarcoating, and you're going to laugh, you're going to reflect. You're going to get fired up, maybe even shed a tear, not because I'm cutting onions. How you doing? But one thing I promise you, you will leave stronger than when you press that play button, because this is just about motivation. This is about transformation. One last thing before we get started. If you vibe with what you hear today, if this conversation inspires you, if you appreciate the interviews, right? The energy and the message, all I ask is that you support the YouTube channel, hit like, hit subscribe, and share it with somebody that may just need this, who could use a little motivation. Your support helps me keep me bringing powerful guests, meaningful conversations, and purpose-driven content. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. In fact, I can put that right in the comments. And one of the things I want people to do is comment. I want you to ask questions. That's the whole purpose. I always say that knowledge is worthless unless you share it. You've got to share it, my people. Mi gente, you've got to share it, because that's the only way that que lo levantamos, right? So now let's talk about today's guest, right? And today we've got a powerhouse, right? In the building, in the studio, in the internet, right? Someone who is not only walking in purpose, but serving on a global level. I'm honored to introduce Dr. Ana Sierra. And Dr. Sierra is a licensed mental health professional with over 20 years of clinical experience, working with adults, children, and adolescents across outpatient, residential, and community-based settings. She holds advanced degrees in psychology and counseling, including a PhD in international psychology with a focus on trauma services. And let me tell you, her work is deep. It's meaningful and impactful. She specializes in trauma-related disorders like PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and she has dedicated her life, her career, to helping individuals heal from some of life's most difficult experiences. But her impact doesn't stop there. Dr. Sierra has done extensive international work developing psychosocial programs for survivors of violence across Latin America and the Caribbean. That's global service, mi gente, right there. She's licensed in multiple states, a national certified counselor, and a court-certified subject matter expert in childhood trauma, including child sexual abuse and exploitation. And on top of that, she's a media contributor, a podcast host. How you doing? An award recipient and co-founder of the Latina Healing Institute, where she empowers high-achieving Latinas to heal, grow, and thrive. So today, we're not just having a conversation. We're stepping into a space of healing, awareness, and real understanding. So let's make this happen. Let's get into this. Give me a moment as we bring her on. Yeah.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Dr. Ana Sierra, welcome to the podcast, my interview, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jose, for having me here and for hosting such an amazing space for everyone and for your audience and for our people, for the people.
Yes, yeah, para la gente, we have to, right? We have to know. I'm so honored, and I was really impressed with everything you've done. And, before there were titles, before there was this, we want to know is who was Ana Sierra before all that?
Well, as far as I knew, when I came to this country, I was just a girl, from Honduras that got here. And like every immigrant story, my family and we came here for a better future, to be able to, have places and spaces where we could grow and we can have an education and financial stability and just a better future for all of us. So I really was just a girl. I found out actually when I got here that I was labeled a Latina because you don't use that in Latin America.
Yes, I understand. I do.
Yeah. So, starting with like, who was I? I was like, oh my God, what is this thing that you're calling me a Latina? I'm like, no, I'm Honduran, I'm just a girl from Honduras. But, so there's a lot of things that happen with Latinos and identity here. So when I was so confused, I'm like, but I had to learn this term, but then I also learned all of these stereotypes of Latinas. And I internalized that as a teenager. I thought I had to be a salsa dancer. I had to be feisty. I had to be all of these things because those are stereotypes, right? Not all of us are like that. We have a diversity within our women and our men too, and all of the other identities. But so I had to figure out who I was there. So what I could tell you for sure that I was somebody that could see people's pain, because I've also been through that. I could see people needing that help. I remember that when I was in high school, I was constantly receiving messages of me not being good enough. Like even going to school, and I asked a person who was supposed to help you with college applications. I was like, "Hey, I want to go to college." I was in the 10th grade, I think. I wanted to prepare. And then she goes, "Oh, sweetie, that is so cute, but like you don't know enough English. Like you're not gonna be able to go to college because I had like my accent is thick, but it was thicker back then."
Right.
But of course, I had only been in the country for a few years, so it was expected. So I saw that our people really, and especially like women and or girls, and that we were kind of putting all these all of these stereotypes on us. Like luckily I had parents that would always be like, "Oh, wait a minute, they're telling you can't speak English, but like you speak 2 languages and they only speak 1. Like come on." So I had a good support system that got me through that, but not everybody has that. So I used to see how many of my peers would just fall off the trails, like they will just kind of fall through the cracks, without that support, and with other things in their homes going on, and abuse, and to me, I wanted to heal people. That's what I could tell you that I had in my heart when I was little. I wanted to stand up for our people, and I wanted I wanted to make people feel better, even though I was still carrying my own,
Right.
So then like that's what I did. I ended up getting into all the colleges I wanted because I had an amazing Puerto Rican teacher, Miss Mojica, who I know she passed away already, but she gave me a hand, and she's like, "No, we're gonna do all of this. You're gonna go to school." And I ended up getting into all of the schools I wanted because I had really great grades. So I wanted to help people. That's why I wanted to go to school and do that. So before all those titles, I thought, education was one way. It's something that nobody can take that from you. They can take away your house if you buy one. They can take away your car if you buy one. They can take away your clothes, anything else, they can take it away. But what you got in here, no one can take that.
That is so true. And so based on what you're telling me, that was what made you go into the mental health early on, especially for Latinos, because of your experience.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a fun fact too. I actually wanted to do politics. I'm like, I'm gonna go over there and make decisions, because I see the system being all whacked out of place. In my head, I'm like, there's just so much inequality, and so I ended up with a political science to start there, and I had a great professor in college, and he encouraged me to apply to internships. And he goes, "You should apply. We should do the White House." And I'm like, "They're not gonna take me. Come on, it's the White House."
Right.
I'm just a girl that got a thick accent, and I know I have good grades, but I didn't think I was capable of that, and I did get accepted, and I came to DC. And I was interning, but I realized that was not the field I wanted to be in. And not because, experiences were diverse and everything, but, there was this culture of favors, there's a culture of, I got your back, you pat my back kind of thing. And we learned that even from our, one of our professors in the institution said maybe he was just the professor, but it was just a very bad way of saying, "I'm going to teach you, how to manipulate people and to get whatever you want." And to me, I'm like, that's not in my heart, I can't be that person. So I realized that I couldn't do that because I didn't think I have the thick skin to get there, to lie to people, or not lie. They don't call it lying. They call it strategizing, right? But so I didn't want to strategize that way. Let's put it that way. And I came back to college, to New Jersey, and I said, no, I think I'm going to change it up. I'm going to see something else. What do I want to do? So I ended up falling in love with this whole theory, psychology, and helping people one by one. And yeah, so that's how I started doing that. And I really enjoyed the field, and I enjoyed also learning about myself, also
Mhm.
figure out that I had some things I had to work on, going to therapy to work on those things, because I understood the value that that brings to you in my 20s.
Mm. So yeah, that was those were some of the challenges that you were going through. Was there any other challenges that you faced personally also while you was going through this program?
You mean throughout academically, throughout
Yeah,
the
yeah, for the men, yeah, as a Latina woman specifically, what was some of the that's what were some of the challenges as a Latina woman? I'll rephrase that. Yeah.
that it looked like that no matter how hard you work and how much you do, people will always put you in this box of being all these boxes of stereotypes, right? I remember, Jose, when I was coming from the White House internship,
Mhm.
I came back to the college and I was like a mini, they all wanted to know who I was because no one had gotten to the White House, right?
Mhm.
But me. So I remember that a reporter from, I don't remember if it was from the school or from, I don't remember, wanted to talk to me about it. And I was just, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll meet you in front of this, whatever part of the college. And I was over there and I was talking to one of my friends. And I'm just gonna say it. She was a white female, and I was me talking to her, just hanging out while I waited for this person. And the reporter was like, "You must be the White House intern," and reached his hand out to her, not to me.
Oh wow.
So you experience that over and over and over again, whether it is by a professor, whether it is intentional or not. Now in psychology, we call these microaggressions, microinvalidations. Now I know that now, but back in the days, I just knew it felt wrong, you
Right,
know.
right, right.
So you get that in, or professors telling you, I can't understand what you're saying because of your accent. And I used to be then I became a little bit more like feisty in the sense that I would be like,
Mhm.
well, that is so unfortunate that you cannot understand me if this is your first language. That's how I got feisty. So I had to
Right,
learn
right.
to manage those environments, or I would be in front of the class because I was a straight student in my country. And I
Mhm.
came here and I got to that place too where I was. And I remember standing in the front of the classroom, and a professor would ask a question. I would raise my hand right in front of her face, and
Mhm.
he wouldn't pick me. you know and then my classmates would say, but hey, Anna's raising her hand. Like
Right,
it was
right.
environments that are difficult because either people have stereotypes that they carry, people see you as the person that's going to mess up, or I was told by a teacher in high school that I should just go get a job at McDonald's because they're always hiring. Nothing wrong with working at McDonald's,
Oh no.
but how can you say that if you don't know me, you didn't ask me? I was actually a student that got scholarships to go to college for
Mhm.
academic reasons, but also for sports reasons. I was a swimmer. So you don't get to know people. Now we are more awake. I think we're more woke, right?
Mhm.
but uh, but but back in the days, that's what it was, and it continued out throughout. Many spaces where I would figure out, oh my God, I'm the only Latina in this place. Whether I was working professionally already, or I was, in classes that were not as diverse.
Mhm.
Um, so, for example, I worked in corporate. This is how the Latina Healing Institute kind
Right,
of
right,
looked,
right.
with my amazing co-founder Alani Bankhead, who's actually running for U.S. Senate from Montana. So she's another a badass veteran Air
What's her
Force.
name again? Say her name again.
Alani Bankhead. She is a veteran, and she is Air Force veteran,
Ooh,
and she's
all
a
right.
colonel. She left she finished everything, and I'm like, so what you gonna do now? Run for office? And I'm like, oh my God. Just
Wow.
that. But we created the Latina Healing Institute years ago because we both had been in spaces, right, where you're Latina,
Mhm.
there's stereotypes about you. And I remember that you get exhausted. I was in an environment where whether people were doing it intentionally or maybe not aware of their own biases, I would be asked for like taco recipes. I'm Honduran. I don't know how to make you a Mexican taco, unless I learn it through a recipe.
Right,
so I would be like, oh, have you Googled a recipe? Because that's something you ask Google, how to make a good taco. Or can you teach me how to dance salsa? I'm going to give you a very, very big secret, Jose. I don't dance salsa.
Okay.
I don't love it. I feel it in my spirit, in my soul.
Right.
I just don't, So, it's that treatment that you get from other people, just constantly invalidating you. And that is exactly the reason that so many of our young people in Latinos that grow up in the United States, imagínate that happens to them from the time that they are in contact with the system, when they're children, when they're very little. So toda la vida going through those things, makes you question your identity, your self-esteem. So,
absolutely. Ooh, that's hard. Ooh, yeah. We had a comment from my girlfriend McDowell. She said, strategizing, that's funny. You're right, McDowell. Yes, absolutely. And we're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk about why a lot of people, especially Latinos, avoid therapy of any type. What is to talk about that? So we're going to take a quick break, and we come back. That's what we'll get into real quick. All right, here we go.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's a line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey, from the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana, to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop, and his 18th birthday was the day he was born. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's the light. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on the front line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, pay the ultimate price. Oh.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
¿Qué pasa, mi gente? Welcome back to Motivated Mindset with Dr. Ana Sierra. So, before we went on break with that awesome song, okay, I'm sorry, I think it's awesome. But,
I love it. So cool.
it just, if I had hair, it'd be up. But anyway,
Una peluca.
No, see, I tried.
You gotta get a wig, and like rock it.
If I went to get a wig, it'd be a fro. I don't know. I had Jerry curls back in the day. We won't get into that right now. But again, right before we went on break, I wanted to ask you about, why do some people avoid therapy? Like, what's behind that in your opinion?
I think because it's an unknown of what happens there, right? People have imagined what that could be. Oh, you just sit there and talk about your problems. That's it. Or in our culture specifically, we have this frase, eso es para locos, right? That's for crazy people. So the issue with that, what I think that comes from, it's just that people, we as well, in our immigrant community, right? Our Latinos are the latest wave of immigrants into the United States for decades and decades, the recent decades, right? So I think that because we come from systems, right, that in Latin America that are not very strong in that, in mental health or education or anything like that, we kind of see untreated mental health people around, like, el loquito de la esquina, le dicen, right? Or somebody that had mental health issues, they took them to the asilo, and then they're locked up in there forever. So people get afraid. Like, our people tell the stories, and we learn by stories. That's how we learn in community. So yo le digo a la gente, why, what, you're not going to go, you're not, psychiatry and mental health are different things, right? If you need one, you may need both, you may need just one, or you may need neither. So es el miedo a decir there's something wrong with you, right? That to find something wrong with you, as if there is something wrong with you, which is not. Like, statistics show us, a lot of studies on trauma and mental health, kind of throw out these results where 70% of people in any given place have already gone through at least one traumatic experience. So 70% of the world, this is in local studies, state-by-state studies, or, the Adverse Childhood Experience study, but also the World Health Organization has done these studies in other countries. So, the rates can differ in different countries because of histories, genocides and things like that. But there is a safe place to say that at least in any room you walk into, 70% of the people there are walking around with trauma. So it is so common that, we just normalize it. We normalize violence. Oh, él le pega a la mujer. Okay, like that's normal because, there's issues with parejas. No, it's not normal. Or we hit our children. Yeah. Oh, because it's normal, like you have to do it because it's for their own good. We normalize violence because we are all carrying these things. If they're untreated, we're going to continue to think that way. So it is not knowing that there's something wrong and it's right in front of you, not because you were born with that in that sense, but you learned that and you made it in, we made it into being normal. Many people walk around saying, I know es que he's jealous. He gets jealous and mad like that because he loves me. That's not normal either. But we walk around with these beliefs thinking that this is reality, but we haven't seen another, moneda de eso, like the flip of that. What that looks like when you are actually in healthy relationships, when you're actually, doing your best, and you're not going to be perfect because we have tendencies, so people don't come because they think they're gonna they're gonna find something wrong with you. Same, my clients that come, they're like, I know you're a doctor, I haven't gone in like 20 years and I'm healthy though. I'm like, really? Are you healthy though? You've never been, you haven't been in 20 years and you think you're healthy. Yeah, because if I go, they're gonna find something wrong with me. Así me dicen. And I'm like,
oh no.
My God. So I would say mental health is kind of like primary health care too. Go get a checkup, because if you've never been to a and gotten an evaluation to see how your mental health well-being is, we all have mental health. I go to rooms and I'm like, how many people have mental health here? And like one person raises their hand. I'm like, all of you have mental health. We just don't know what it is, Is it good? Right. Is it or is it we need more help, Go check it out. And as a general physical, we kind of take not blood, but we take everything from your mind to figure out what's going on, and then just see how you are, because not knowing doesn't mean it's not there,
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you're right. I know growing up as a kid, my parents, especially my dad, I had to be strong even when I wasn't. I had to act it even when I wasn't. I had to, to say that something was wrong, but no, levántate, eso no hay nada. It's like you couldn't bring stuff like that to the forefront. And I grew up like that. And I know because it affected past relationships because it's a learned behavior. But this is what I've seen. And like I mentioned earlier, having PTSD, once I knew what my triggers were, I'm like, okay, I can function now. But before then, it was like the norm because nobody said anything. So I can relate. We have a question that got emailed to me, said, what advice would you give someone who is high functioning but silently struggling?
Okay, yeah. And I think that a lot of people are in that place. I'm not going to even lie about that. I see that all the time. A lot of people that come to my practice, sometimes they could be fourth, fifth generation Latinos, but we take a lot of diverse populations. And sometimes people in really top high positions struggle a lot more, not more than somebody that's not, but more in the sense that they have to keep it together more. They have a added pressure to not like let that come out anywhere in their lives, or they're just doing that silently. They're like drinking at night by themselves, they're like getting wasted by themselves, or they are using other substances. They are isolating, they're addicted to games, they're addicted to porn, they're addicted to so many other things to cope with things. It could be that you have some other things that are happening, but it happens in secret, right? Because you don't want anybody to know. But a lot of people are in that place, and especially if you're in an environment where it is fast-paced and very much stressful, or sometimes people have been in that space for years in their lives. But also the LinkedIn profile looks amazing.
Yeah.
But, internally they're having a hard time. What can you do? You reach out and you come for help, because you're not alone in that. The one thing that is stopping you probably is possible judgment, this is what a therapist does for a living. We see everybody across the board. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how successful you are. I don't care if you've never had a job in your life. I'll see you as a human.
Yes.
Is not deficient by nature, but like your context shapes some of these things, and let's change that. Let's figure it out. So don't be afraid of coming out for help. The hardest session is the first one if you've never been in therapy or looked for help. But also remember that you have people around you that love you, and that if they knew what was happening to you, they would so go in there for you. They will pour their hearts to you, and they will save you from whatever is going on and help you be accountable if something's going wrong. So there are people that care about you around. Now, if you feel like you have no one around, then, you create that community. Don't be afraid to go out there. Call for help, though. There's a hotline called 988. It is throughout the United States, and it can link you up with resources depending on where you live, your economic, status. If you cannot afford therapy, they'll link you to a place where they can. There are resources out there. Just don't be afraid to give that first step, because things don't just cure themselves by by not treating it.
No, absolutely. And you were talking about, violence, and, and you've done international work helping survivors of violence. And how did that experience change your perspective on trauma, if any, doing that kind of work?
Well, one of those is the commercial sexual exploitation of children and child
Mm.
sexual abuse, which is a common. Unfortunately, it's a common threat, and we've seen in the news how common it's been everywhere. So it's not just the elite doing these things; it's the regular Joe, doing these things, or having this happen to children. So I think that what I do know is that this is a very preventable issue, because most of the time, because we don't want to see a problem, we avoid it and we ignore it. But also, we don't believe survivors. A 13-year-old comes to you and tells you that her tío, who's 35, touched her inappropriately. How many parents are going to believe that? If the tío is your brother, that you grew up with and you were raised with, and you know your brother so well. So, I mean, the thing is that we have to have a different culture around that. And, we see how much women are not believed, but also how many times even men don't report it. You know how many men,
Yes.
Latino men I've had in my office that tell me about a sexual abuse experience that happened to them by their tío, by their cousin, by their neighbor, by their pastor, and they never told anybody because of the deep shame. So the rate for sexual abuse for males is so much lower. I don't think so. I think it's just underreported.
Underreported.
Mhm.
Wow. No, you're right. And how can parents or adults better protect and support their children today? Like what's out there for, for parents or just, information?
Yeah, and I think that the hardest part is knowing that anybody could be the perpetrator.
Okay.
And I know that sounds really like
No, no.
that. And when you ask about how that changed me, I think that would be one of the things. Not that I don't trust anybody, but I would
Mhm.
put anybody's behavior in question when it comes to a child or a person being assaulted, in that way, because so many times parents have to believe the child. Doesn't matter
Yes.
if you don't think this real or not, you have to believe your child. Whatever they're said to you, you take it as truth and you
Mhm.
support that child. Then you find out later on what's going on.
Right.
Don't question it. Why didn't you tell me? I
Yeah.
giving you confianza, no,
Right.
but like that's not the child's job to come tell you, hey, Theo's touching me the wrong way. No, it is your job as a parent to look at the signs. So when the child changes personality suddenly, and you
Mhm.
know your child better, so there used to be a lively child, and then all of a sudden they're like more reserved. I
Yeah,
don't know.
you see.
Or if they're telling you, I don't want to go to Tia's house anymore, I want to stay with you. But you're like, no, but you have to go because you have to spend time with your cousins. Don't ask questions. Like, oh, wait, how come you don't want to go there anymore? What's going on? Or they're failing out a school assignment and they don't want to go to school. Then find out why they don't want to go to school. Is it a teacher doing that? I mean, the thing is that it has gotten my alarms fired up all the
Yeah.
time with kids in that sense. So I think that also I have worked through that also in therapy to make sure I don't burn out, with the stories that we find that I've encountered throughout the majority of my career. Because it is very disheartening. You think you've heard it all, and then somebody surprises you with violence that it is just unspeakable about what is done to children. So it's changed me in a way that there's so much stuff going on out there that is silent, but at the same time, it gives me a lot of hope that there are so many people fighting for this to be, to be brought up, to breathe out, and even what we're seeing, and I'm just gonna say with the Epstein files, what we're
Yes.
seeing there, you see how much resistance there is to believing survivors. So people that don't believe, I mean, how you're thinking about this subject,
Wow.
and just get more informed.
Okay. We have a question, and the question says, Hola, Dr. Sierra. Today's topic is from survival mode to thriving energy. Many people don't recognize that they're in survival mode. What are the subtle signs we often ignore? Gracias, Yvette.
Okay, yeah. So whenever you're in survival mode, you are just have you ever had this experience happen? You're driving right from point A to point B, and then you're like, I don't know how I got there. I just kind of got there. You don't have as much memory of how you got there. So that idea of you're always just on the go, on the go, on the go, on the go, on the go. You go to work, you do your thing at work, you come home, you eat dinner, and then you go to bed or do whatever you're doing, or spend time with your kids for whatever you can, and then wash, like, what is it? Rinse, wash, repeat.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then the weekend comes and you're exhausted. So when you are just seeing yourself as a robot, you're like just going and going and going. Wait a minute, I have lost something here. What actually gives me purpose, and like what actually gives me life, rather than just feeling like you're a robot that has to perform, but also your nervous system is accelerated all the time. So say that can you close your eyes, for 5 minutes without doing anything? Just let your mind go. Look at what's going on in your mind. Are there 20,000 thoughts that come up in the first 10 seconds you do that? And it's really hard to just bring your body back to a space where you can be calm. And, do you give your mind space like that? So I do that test with people. I'm like, I close your eyes, let's see what happens, when we close our eyes. And what I do is I tell them, I'm going to tell you when to open your eyes. And then I'm like, go ahead, close your eyes and just take a breath. And people will do that. And I do this for like 45 seconds.
Okay.
And then I'm like, I tell them, okay, you can open your eyes now. How much time did it pass? And they'll be like 5 minutes. Your nervous system is really high right now. It's really up because it was only 45 seconds. And you perceive that calmness as uncomfortable. That's why the time stretched, right? So your nervous system is all waxed. You're getting spooked quickly. You're getting sleep that is not restful. You are getting up tired, of course, because you're not sleeping well. But you're also starting to feel like lack of motivation to get up in the morning, or kind of like, oh, I have to go to work. I have to do this thing instead of getting up. And it's not like you have to wake up like arcoiris and trumpets.
Right.
but at least with an attitude of like, oh, you know what, today's we're gonna make it the best weekend today. It's gonna be a good day. You don't have to be super happy, but you could be content and just So if you're not there, then that's what's happening. And I know many industries push people to be that robot that just has to go and go and go and go, and you have to reach this level, and now you have to reach this level, and now you have to reach this level, and now that's not good enough. You have to reach another level. So if you're feeling that, that's probably where you are if you're in survival mode.
Okay. And we have another question. The question is, you mentioned the nervous system. What role does the nervous system play in how we show up, especially when we're stuck in fight, flight, or freeze?
Yes. So I have my brain here that I show sometimes, but if you picture the brain, right? This is probably that part of the brain, the emotional brain. You have midbrain and you have the prefrontal cortex, right? Yeah, there you go. This is your thinking brain, right? So when you have where your nervous system is out of whack, your prefrontal cortex kind of like boop, turns off. This is what you're left with. You're left with your primitive brain going on. So that is the part of the brain that does the freeze, fight, or flight, right? In a situation.
Right.
And you don't, and now we're talking about there is trauma that happens that puts your life in danger, that the brain will do that too. So that's why there's training that goes into being in situations like that, because it could help you reconnect quicker and act. But like, not everything in life is predictable of what can happen to you. So it's not like we can train for the worst that can happen all the time. But when you're in this place, your nervous system, if you are in situations where, let's say you've had childhood trauma, your brain disconnected very prematurely, not because that's just a response. It reconnects again. But then let's say that situation happens again, so a child being beat, it's often having that that dynamic going on. A child that is being sexually abused is having that going on a lot. So you're gonna have kids that have trouble with learning, concentrating.
Yeah.
You call it ADHD now, but it's actually trauma. It's not ADHD. This is I work with kids, and I see trauma. And when kids are like, no, it's ADHD, no, it's trauma. So now when you're a teenager, your brain goes through changes too. And let's say you haven't addressed that, right? It's going to change and get used to this pattern. So in therapy, what we try to help you do is kind of reconnect faster, learn strategies to reconnect, learn your triggers, learn what does it for you that makes you go into that state of, fight, flight, and freeze, and be able to become more aware of that so that you can then understand, oh my God, at that moment I was in that state and that's why I acted that way. Now what I can do is A, B, and C, and put myself in that situation and desensitize to that so that I can train my nervous system to deal with those situations better. So for example, I when I the kids I work with, teenagers, and sometimes they would be really like, they'll just yell because they don't want to be there. And I just sit there, and they'll be like, ah! And I'm like, and they're like, you're so weird, Dr. Sierra. You don't even flinch. I'm like, do you want me to flinch? And then it becomes a moment. And then we connect, but not because I am an expert and I know better, but because you train it. It's just a muscle that you train. And just the way it was trained, it can get untrained and get better.
All right. So some of the ways, what I want to do is get to your website, because what do you have to offer? I want to go to that right now. And then I know I have to go a little bit back here so we can start from the beginning. And I'll leave it up to you. And the number, ladies and gentlemen, has been going underneath, but Dr. Sierra will talk about what she has to offer. It's all on you, ma'am.
Awesome. Yeah. So at Ana Sierra Counseling, we offer many services, including immigration evaluations. So if you're an attorney, an immigration attorney, and we've been doing this for over 15 years, and we serve DC, Virginia, Maryland, Texas, Florida, and New Jersey. And we do all kinds of evaluations from hardship, waivers, U visas, T visas, juvenile visas. We also do asylum seekers, and we really work with people that are in this process. We do testify in court. We do a lot of stuff with those cases. So that's the service of immigration evaluation. So feel free to refer. Counseling and psychotherapy. We provide services in all the states we mentioned right there: DC, Virginia, Maryland, Texas, Florida, and New Jersey. And our population of clients is diverse. So, just because we are Spanish speaking doesn't mean that we won't serve you. Just come on. So we do family, couples therapy, individual therapy. So that's the services that we do. Yeah. And then we do so much more. Yeah. So I do consulting a lot for organizations to have their organization trauma informed, meaning that they are going to implement strategies at the organizational level so that they can be more cognizant and change policy so that, understanding that trauma happens in your organization. Say that you're at Google, that entire organization, or I don't know, any organization, there's people there. So there's people that carry trauma. How do we make that's the workspace comfortable for those people that are there that are carrying that, so that you can be sensitive to that, so that they can be better performers, and not like squish them down with policies that don't work. So we do all kinds of things too for clinicians. If you are a therapist and you want to do any of these services or learn how to do these things, I also do consultations with you. We do workshops of all kinds, mental health workshops, community workshops. We do them at churches. We do them at nonprofit organizations. So reach out. We kind of a bag of old tricks here.
That is stupendous. No, that's awesome. Let me see what else we got. Oh, hey, I have to put that.
Yeah. This is, this is a book that I co-authored back in the days. I think this is a little, but one of the topics here that's really important was the ethnic minority psychology, and this whole concept of poverty and violence. So a lot of the literature points to the phenomenon of poverty and violence coexisting. Not that one causes the other, or that both have to, but it's just a coincidence that when where there's places of high poverty, there tends to be a way in of violence, right? So looking, and the reason why it was on the ethnic minority psychology is because a lot of our people live in spaces that are urban, right? Places where they may be looked as rough, right?
Mhm.
So not by coincidence, I think it's because of economic opportunities, right? Like you can't, if like my family came here and we couldn't afford back then to have a house in the suburbs.
Yeah.
So we lived in the hood in Jersey City.
I hear you, girl.
Yes, I was in the hood in Jersey City. I had to learn a lot of stuff, when I was in high school. Aside from the other stuff we talked about, but like I had to learn a lot of stuff so to survive it. But there it is, and we have. You can reach me. You can follow me on TikTok. I have a TikTok here, Dr. Sierra. I put stuff over there. I don't know that I'm an influencer here as much, but I pongo mi perrito y todo, a little bit of my life there.
Girl, I've been following you because I have 3 fur babies myself. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
I love them. She's right here. She's just right here sleeping because she's like,
I
"Mom,
see.
this
Oh,
is not interesting to me."
so it's TikTok, and I think
And
this
then
is
we have
Instagram.
Instagram. So we post a lot here about what we're doing, mostly in a day-to-day basis almost. So feel free to follow me. If you have questions too, you can message, and you can find our website and everything in our link tree on that. And then we have also Facebook, and we post similar content here. And that you can just ask questions, reach us, and there's our phone number, our website, and everything that you need.
And the email, ladies and gentlemen, is right there. So you can also email. Oh, and we got something cool coming up.
Boom, this one. So I've been in the field for 20 years, but in the last 10 years ago, I decided I'm going to go into private practice. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but because, I don't know anybody else in my immediate network that does it. Now I do, because I'm full of therapists around me, friends and everything. But back in the days, I'm like, I don't know. I haven't seen anybody do this before, but let's see. So, but I've been in private practice for the last 10 years here in the DC area. And I thought, oh, it would be so great to celebrate it, right? So I celebrated my 5 years in a reception, but this one, I'm like, it's a big one. So it is another reception that we're doing here. But then I thought it would be so awesome to use this opportunity to then come up with a concept for it, in a sense, to have our community here come in, and then their ticket price and everything. You're not paying for the party. Everything that comes in is going to go to funds for free mental health services for asylum seekers. So the cost of the of the event is on me, but everything that you do to come, it is definitely for that. We see that the most vulnerable population that we've served, even in our practice, are asylum seekers, because they're most of the time they come in, como dicen, with a hand in front and one hand in back, like con nada. And sometimes with kids, so we want to provide that fund and celebrate as well here it's going to be at the Hotel Monaco at the Glass House. If you've been there, the food is great, the vibe is really nice, and I'm so blessed, Jose, because over 25 businesses in the DC area, Latino-owned businesses, which talks about the confianza that they have in me, and I'm so appreciative of that. But also knowing that we can come together to do this, because I'm not a nonprofit. I am a private practice. So for them to know that all of this is going to go to exactly the place it needs to go, a mí me da like,
That is awesome.
Warm, and and you guys are gonna see the results of this, of course, after the reception is done, because there's exciting things happening after. Yeah.
That is awesome. Wow. Okay.
Thank you. You can reach out to me here, with these QR codes that Jose did amazingly. I think I need to learn how to do QR codes.
I got your 6. I'll tell you. I'll show you.
But contact me. Feel free to message me if there are questions or anything. I can send you a link as soon as you message me to have a 30-minute consult with me at no cost, just to kind of figure out what's on your mind, what you need, and so just don't no tengan miedo. I'm here. Yeah. We're here. We have a team of people. So my entire team is we have 4 people in our team, and you can see them on our website. They're all amazing, and yeah, we're all willing to help.
No, absolutely. And what we're gonna do, Dr. Sierra, is we're gonna do a minute break, and talk about, and then I'm gonna come back to you so I can give you your last words, anything we didn't cover before we close out. Give us a moment. Give me a moment. Let me get this done. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we go here. Let me go here. Remove. And let me see. This is the one. Yes.
Let me ask you something. Are you constantly dealing with cravings? Feeling like your energy is low all day? Struggling with low metabolism? Or feeling like stress and cortisol is working against you? And no matter what you try, nothing seems to stick. I'm Coach Coco, and I help women and men aged 35 to 65 take control of their body, take it right back, and we are taking it back naturally. I work with Bye Bye Belly, using powerful plant-based support like our Snatch Juices, Get Snatch Tea, and our Power Shots, to name a few. These amazing products helps to suppress your appetite, stop those cravings, boost your energy, and get your body working like it's supposed to again. But here's what really makes the difference. You're not doing it alone. I guide you, I support you, and I keep you consistent, because that's where the real results come from. So if you're tired of starting over and you're ready to finally feel like yourself again, guess what? I got you. This is the Wellness Mindset. And if you are watching this on Motivated Mindset, say Wellness Mindset when you reach out. I got you. Let's get you back to being you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you reach out, we get a consult, you get free. Tell them, hey, the code is Wellness Mindset. And one more thing, real quick, that Sierra Anna, before I go on, next week's guest is Lakeisha Bankston, a multi-phase professional whose work spans executive coaching and leadership and development. And that one will be pre-recorded, so please don't forget to tune in, and I'll be putting it up. But we're looking forward to that one. All right, Dr. Anna Sierra, it's all yours. Your last anything last you want to say, ma'am?
No, I just want to say I'm really thankful, Jose, for the space you created. It's amazing to see how much you put into this, how much your heart put into this, and also having me here. Don't be afraid about mental health stuff. I mean, I know it sounds really unknown and complicated, but it's not. You can, even if you think that things are really hard out there and like, how can I fix this complex problem? Like, what is a therapist going to do? Sometimes what I tell people is like, you don't have to fix everything that's going on out there or even in your family, but you can learn to, either jump off that ship and swim, or, put on your little bubble up here when you need it to breathe. It's about understanding how you deal with those things so that you can be okay. But then also you doing that models that for other people in your family, because that's what's happened with everybody that I know has been in therapy. Like you get better, and then other people in your family that love you are like, oh my God, maybe that works. So you get inspiration in your circle. So reach out, don't be afraid. I mean, no judgment.
Right. Gracias, Dr. Sierra, and we'll be in touch. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Y gracias. We'll be in touch. Gracias.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.